This episode of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast is sponsored by Caneswear. Caneswear.com is the spot where Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com, the best and most affordable gear for the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Marlins, the Miami Heat, the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, all of the professional and college sports teams in South Florida. Caneswear.com has you covered. If you're in South Florida, you can visit the storefront at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. They ship internationally as well. So Caneswear.com, make it the place. It's the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins gear. That's Caneswear.com, Caneswear.com. And don't forget about Dolphins Talk Extra. Go to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk for additional Miami Dolphins content. You get extra access to our private Discord server. You get bonus podcasts covering the Miami Dolphins. You get off-topic content as well. We have live watch-alongs. We have retro rewatches where we watch old games and talk about them. We do off-topic shows. We have prizes, contests, all kinds of exclusive access only for Dolphins Talk Extra subscribers. So join us, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. You can join the fun for as little as $3 a month. Head on over to Dolphins Talk Extra at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. And now, on with the show.
Hello, Dolphins Talk fans, and welcome to another episode. My name is Marissa Marino, and today I am joined by a very knowledgeable guest, ESPN NFL draft analyst and insider, Mr. Matt Miller. Matt, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We are so excited to have you. We haven't really had somebody who truly focuses on draft analysts, so we are excited to dig right into it if you are ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Awesome. So to kind of start off talking about the draft that just happened, we're going to rewind to who Miami selected in the draft. So first, let's just start with round one. We had Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. What were your thoughts on him heading into the draft, and how do you like his fit in Miami so far?
Yeah, I thought he was a first round player. I was a little bit surprised that they took him at 13, just given some of the needs that the team has had. But I think we can also look at, since Christian Wilkins left, the interior has been an area where every offseason we talk about, like, man, they could really use more help on the interior. Now they have that in someone who is, I thought he was the best nose tackle in the draft this past year at 6'3", 335 pounds. He was a little limited in the pre-draft process, so we didn't get to see some of the crazy athletic numbers that he's capable of putting up. But we knew, from scouting him at Michigan, that was there. I mean, his movement ability, his strength, he's so much more than the stats you saw at Michigan. Like that is not an accurate, representation of what he's able to do. I think he'll be a much better pass rusher in the NFL than he was asked to be in college. Michigan's like notorious for just having their guys almost, control gaps. They're not really going after the quarterback so much. So, the 6.5 sacks he had the past 2 years at Michigan, I think that we'll see him become much more consistent and productive in the pros.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys who we are expecting him to step in day one as a rookie. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out. Now, in round two, Miami decided to trade a few picks to move up to get Jonah Savainea. I probably am butchering that. I've been working on
I think you did better than I would. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And we got him at pick 38, and they moved up roughly 20 spots to get him. Giving up their second, third, and a fourth. Dolphins fans have been debating since that Friday night. So two-part question for you. What are your thoughts on him, the player? And do you think Miami gave up too much to acquire him?
So I think it's always premature to talk about, like, did you give up too much? I mean, we can all look at the pick value chart and say, okay, well, they gave up, they're 200 points under or 200 points over, things like that. But it always, you have to live in the context of that draft. And I think this draft was very limited in terms of interior offensive line players that could be starters. And so to move up, obviously they targeted a player that they believe will be a starter for them very early in their career, if not right away. And you're also looking at the way your board is set. We have this term called your board being wiped out, which means all the players that you like at a position have been drafted or are coming off the board really quickly. And you start to see that board of offensive guards or even potentially offensive tackles start to get wiped out. And you think, oh my gosh, okay, we've only got one guy left as a starter. Let's go get him.
Mm.
So I think you have to look at trades in that context of where was the class weak and where was it strong, and then how many starters did they think they still were viably going to be there when they came on the clock. So we'll see how the trade works out, in 2 to 3 years. But as far as him as a player, one of my favorite things that Miami did, I feel like they had a theme in this draft, which was to get bigger, stronger, tougher on the
Mhm.
interior. And so we talked about first round, you definitely do that with Kenneth Grant. Second round, you're doing it with Jonah. His versatility is really impressive. He at Arizona, there was times he played tackle, he played guard. I think he has more of a potential as a guard just because of some of the limitations with his footwork. I remember watching him at the Senior Bowl. I was standing right behind the offensive line drills, and you could see that he was being coached up a lot by the staffs that were down there. But he did need some coaching in terms of his technique, his hand placement, some of the footwork that they were asking him to do. So he's still got a lot of room to get better. But I do think as a guard, he has super, super high potential.
Yeah, he's a big boy. We're excited to have him on that team, and God knows that we definitely need it. Now, shifting into running back, who we actually got to see him for the first time fully in that preseason game against the Bears, but Ollie Gordon, Miami selected him in the round 6, and this past weekend, like I said, I mean, he had a pretty nice start to his career in that first preseason game. I know it's preseason, but as fans, we got excited. And now, unfortunately, with the loss of Alexander Madison, who we know is out for the season with a neck injury, what are your thoughts on Gordon in the NFL, and then also his fit in Miami too?
Yeah, it's crazy because, a year ago we were talking about Ollie Gordon as a potential Heisman candidate, and likely an early round, not first round, but an early round draft pick. So for him to fall to where he did was surprising. Also, it is indicative of the type of year he had. He didn't look as aggressive. He was honestly like kind of tentative and a little bit timid as a runner. So getting back to that is what's going to be important to him. It's why he was a sixth round pick, right? Is that fall off? Oklahoma State also had a big drop off. So I think what you're getting is a player who, when he's dialed in, he's going to give you a great change of pace to the speed backs that are already there with A-Chain and Wright. You have
Mhm.
a power guy, someone that can run downhill, someone that can run between the tackles. We've seen this offense, whether it be in Miami or San Francisco or elsewhere, have a lot of success with guys who are like that are almost that one cut inside zone. They're going to finish their runs. They're going to be tough at that point of attack. So that's who he can be. So I would think a short yardage role is going to be huge for him as he, looks to crack into this lineup. And like you mentioned, with Madison out, there was his competition on this depth chart because you've
Mhm.
got the two speed guys.
Yep.
Madison was going to be like, that's the type of role he was going to fill. So I think it's really easy now to see, okay, sixth round pick. The reality we live in as a sixth round pick is like you're hoping those guys make the team, right? You're not guaranteed. Usually you have to have some special teams value, which is something he didn't show a ton of in college. So I think now that third running back position seems like it would be his to lose.
And we know that the Dolphins need that. Last year, they did not perform well on third and short, fourth and short. They need a guy who's able to punch the ball in, and maybe Ollie Gordon is the guy that can do that for us. So moving on to the quarterback room with, unfortunately, you have to talk about it because Tua, as we know, is prone
Yeah.
to injury. And so we pick up Quinn Ewers, who is a guy who had a lot of hype heading into the 2024 season. And by season's end, his stock kind of fell. Miami got him in round 7. Do you like Ewers here on this NFL level as well? And I think the big question some people have is, do you see him as a potential starter someday, or do you believe his ceiling is being a number 2 backup quarterback?
So I always want to be careful talking about seventh round picks as potential starters, right? Even like we had Tom
Tom
Brady, now we have
Brady.
Brock Purdy, right? But I think with Quinn, he has starter tools. And he was a 5-star recruit going
Mhm.
to Ohio State and then Texas. He's one of the highest rated quarterbacks to ever come out of the state of Texas. That says a lot about his ability. Unfortunately, he just could not stay healthy at Texas. And this past year, playing with a torn oblique and an injured ankle, really saw it affect his game. His arm strength fell off. If you watch him against Michigan early in the year and then you watch him at Georgia at the end of the year, or even Ohio State at the end of the year, he's not the same quarterback. And
Mhm.
so every year at Texas, it felt like he would start to work out some of the issues in his game and then he would get hurt.
Mhm.
So I again, seventh round pick, you're hoping that, let's just hope he has a great long career in the NFL, right? As a seventh round pick. But his talent when healthy is not seventh round. It's second or third round.
Mhm.
So I think the key for Quinn is to get his body right to where he's not, consistently dealing with injuries. But like you mentioned, I'm a huge Tua fan. I love him, but you do have to have someone ready to go because missing time is something that's been a part of his career. So
Mhm.
I know, in the opener, there were some drop passes when Quinn was in. There were times he looked sharp. There were other times he did not, that you kind of expect that from a rookie in their first game. But I do think on a talent perspective, he has the talent to play in the NFL, to be a starter in the NFL. It's just a matter of getting his body right, building back some of his strength, because his arm strength, especially, it dropped off so dramatically last year with those injuries he was dealing with.
We know that the players like Waddle and Tyreek Hill, you got to throw them the ball far because they're going to get open in
Yep.
wide spaces, and you need that arm strength for sure. So the Dolphins also selected Jordan Phillips and Zeke Biggers for defensive line help to go along with Kenneth Grant. What are your thoughts on those two players?
I was a big Jordan Phillips fan. I thought he had top 100 potential. As a quick, a little bit undersized, 6'2", around 310 pounds, a little bit undersized, but his ability to play with quickness and leverage. He was a high school wrestler and a really good one. And you see
Mhm.
that in his game, like with the way that he understands how to stay under the pads of blockers, how to drive with his lower body strength. So, and he was one of the youngest players in this draft class. He was only 20 when he was drafted. So he has a lot of, I think, developmental ability just as he matures into his body, as he learns a little bit more. But he was great at Maryland last year. He had a really good pre-draft process as well. So I was a believer of his. I thought they got a steal with pick in the fifth round. I think pick like 140, 143 when he came off the board. And then with Biggers, again, it goes back to that theme of like, not to, it's a very punny thing here, but this team wanted to get bigger. They wanted to get stronger. They
I
wanted to
haven't heard that
dominate
one
in the
yet.
trenches, right? And so it's like he fits the theme of this draft class for them
Mhm.
to spend 3 picks on the interior defensive line, to try to bolster the interior as well. So I think with Biggers, you're getting someone who can be. I mean, he could play up and down the defensive line depending on the alignment that you want. But at 6'6", 320, what he brings in the run game is really impressive.
Awesome. Well, shifting from draft a little bit, I just want to talk about this Dolphins team overall. Mike McDaniel is heading into year 4. What are your thoughts on Mike McDaniel as a head coach? And do you think he is NFL head coaching material? Because he is under a microscope this year he's been with the team, for 3 years, going on his 4th year now. So what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. I think with offensive-minded coaches, and especially folks from this kind of Shanahan tree,
Hmm.
it's that you need to pair yourself with a really strong counterpart. You need to pair yourself with a defensive coordinator, someone on the defensive side that's going to help balance out what you do. But I think Mike, from a standpoint of offensive creativity, what this run game has been able to do, the way that he has schemed up things for Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, I'm a fan of that. I think the key is, kind of finding that identity on defense and sticking with it, and hopefully that's what this draft shows us, is that they do have an identity now and that they do know what they want to look like on that side of the ball. So I think that's the key. But with so many of these offensive guys, I do think that's super, super important. Is you almost want to go with the when Sean McVay had Wade Phillips, like you almost want that head coach on defense. Anthony Weaver is someone that for a long time was thought of as like a potential head coaching candidate, especially when
Yeah.
he was with Baltimore. So I think you're getting that, someone that has, we saw what he did last year. I think now he has the opportunity he evaluated the roster. He knows what he needs. He knows where this scheme was lacking. I think you can look at like Zach Sealer's development,
Mhm.
and see Anthony Weaver's blueprints on that. And then for someone even like Jordan Phillips, like what Justin Matabuke did in Baltimore, like Jordan Phillips can be that type of player. He could develop into that type of role. And we know how important defensive tackles have been, in Baltimore. And so Kenneth Grant has a clear role now. So I think the team's trending in the right direction. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
Buffalo is one of the best teams in the league right now. New
Yeah.
England has a really good head coach in Mike Vrabel. The Jets are still bad, so there's that. Like
Yeah.
you've got that, but I do think the Dolphins are trending in the right direction.
Yeah, it is really tough being in the AFC East. I'm not gonna lie. I think I've aged way past
I
the
was
amount of time that I
right,
needed to.
right. It's been that way your whole life, probably,
Yeah,
right? Like I
it
mean, from
truly has.
so
It
yeah.
truly has. Okay, so Tua going into year 6, we know, obviously, we talked about it, health, concussions, it's that black cloud that hangs over him. What are your thoughts on him as a player? And I'm really curious, like when you scouted like him prior to the 2020 draft, has he had the career you expected, better, worse? How does that kind of pan out?
Yeah, he have not lived up to my personal expectations, but I think a lot of that is injury related. It's like he's played one complete season since being drafted. And in
Yeah.
that year he was good,
Mhm.
but I think it's also tough because he had that injury that ended his career at Alabama. And it was always a wonder then of like, okay, how's the hip gonna hold up? And it hasn't been the hip in the NFL. It's been like everything else. So
Mhm.
I do think we've seen flashes of what he could be like 2022. He had such a good season that year, and you saw the flashes of what he could be. He's always going to be a little bit like conservative and safe as a passer. He's always, and that's how he was at Alabama. But I do think like expecting a jump is okay because, as you said, like we're in year 6, right? Like it's time to get to that level, and there's also familiarity in the offense now. You have weapons. There's
Mhm.
no excuse, I think, at this point. And I
Right.
do think it is why we've seen people get excited about Quinn Ewers, or why Miami has been talked about as a team that in a deep 2026 draft at quarterback, why Miami could, have to entertain the idea of at least bringing in an earlier round type of competition.
Yeah, depending on how we do this season, we could find ourselves with a number 3 draft pick, depending on how poorly or how well this season goes. So we shall see. And with that being said, final question here for you. We all know the Bills are, I mean, I hate to say this, it hurts my heart, but are the class of the AFC East. After them, though, it's kind of wide open. How do you see the rest of the division and who do you think comes in second in the AFC East? I know you talked about the Patriots being a contender now. So I guess who do you see coming in at that number 2 spot?
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots look pretty dang good in their
Yeah.
preseason opener. I think I don't put too much stock into that, right? But
Yeah.
I think with New England, like we've seen what Vrabel can do,
Mhm.
and the Patriots that's still a team that Miami is more talented. Like there's no question in my mind. The Dolphins have more talent than the New England Patriots, especially on offense. I think the difference will be coaching. And Vrabel has done it. There was some Tennessee teams that went far into the playoffs that weren't that talented, but they were able to get it done. So I do think Buffalo is they're the cream of the crop as far as the East goes for
Mhm.
now. I think New England and Miami are firmly battling it out for second place. I'm intrigued by the Jets. Like I want to see. I think Aaron Glenn's going to be a really good
Yeah.
coach. I'm intrigued by Justin Fields in an offense that's built for him, as opposed to like the 4 games we saw in Pittsburgh last year. He played pretty well, and so I'm
Mhm.
intrigued by the Jets. But I think like they've got issues on defense. They've got some young offensive line still, but they're a team that could be dangerous quickly if Aaron Glenn is as good of a coach as we all think he will be.
Well, I appreciate you being honest and not just saying Dolphins at number 2 because some people come on here, they're like, "It's a Dolphins podcast." That's what I have to say, right? It's like, no, these
Yeah,
are honest takes.
right. And like, I mean, again, I love some of the talent that the Dolphins have assembled. And if we were talking about like a 4-by-1 team, I'm going to
Mhm.
take the Dolphins. Like they're
Yeah.
they're going to win the relay there. But I think, it's time for a little bit more consistency on offense, and they need a lot on defense. With a remade secondary, and they've got to go get the quarterback a little bit better.
100%. Well, before we wrap up real quickly, we've been doing this thing called a Dolphins Talk speed round. And if we do it right, we can get it done in a minute and 30 seconds. And it's
Okay,
5 questions with Matt Miller. And it's off the cuff, just lightning round style, however you want to answer them. You want to give it a shot?
let's do it.
Okay. Question 1, favorite city that has hosted the NFL draft?
Oh gosh, New Orleans.
Number
Oh
2,
no, I'm sorry. You said NFL draft. I'm sorry. I went Super Bowl.
that's
NFL
okay.
draft, Kansas City.
Kansas City. Okay. Question 2, go to for coffee, Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts?
Starbucks. We don't have Dunkin'. I'm in Southwest Missouri, so
Okay.
Starbucks.
Starbucks. Got it. Who was your favorite football team as a kid?
The San Francisco 49ers.
Okay. Number 4, bigger milk kipper quirk, taking the cheese off of pizza or the amount of pumpkin pie he eats per week?
It's definitely the pumpkin pie. That's the weird one. Yep.
And last question, favorite TV show that you have watched recently that is not sports related?
Oh, the Pit on HBO.
I saw that. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
there you go. You killed
Yeah,
it.
that was great. Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on and joining the show. Again, everyone, ESPN NFL draft analyst and insider Matt Miller. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at NFL Draft Scout. Matt, any parting words for the Dolphins fans listening?
No, I mean, good luck this year. I'm excited to see what happens. So I'll be rooting for you guys.
Well, we appreciate that. And everybody at Dolphins Talk, if you are listening via YouTube, please make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. We appreciate that. And we hope that you all have a good rest of your day, and fins up.
Hey everyone, Mike here from DolphinsTalk.com, and thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to take a second to smash the like button here on this video, and also to ensure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. We thank you so much for listening, and we know there are a lot of podcast options out there these days regarding the Miami Dolphins and with non-Miami Dolphins podcasts. So we do appreciate you giving us a few minutes each and every day to tune in and listen to all of our shows. Everyone here on staff, thanks you so much. And if you enjoy these shows, also please be sure to sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra, our Patreon service, at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk, where we have bonus podcasts about the Dolphins and some shows not about the Miami Dolphins. We have a private message board. We also have a ton of contests where we give away really cool prizes, and it's all for the low cost of $3 a month. Again, that's patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. And also, please be sure to follow the written content we have up on our website. So check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com, each and every day. Once again, thank you again for listening. Take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.